Hey YouTube, it's been a while since I've done a video. Been busy with some things, but anyway, just to be different from some of my other videos. I'm not doing a band review. I'm not doing a guitar gear review or anything like that. This is I could say it's kind of like a rant or a way for me to vent. Something I really enjoy and have enjoyed ever since I was a child. And it's comic books. And last few years, there's been a lot of comic book movies from both DC and Marvel. Some good, some bad. But my main thing is people that generally wouldn't read comic books, or maybe they have read some comic books, but not some of the ones they've made movies of, going to see these movies and thinking that's how the comic book is or that character is. Or they think like the director will portray that character in a different way, or maybe that actor will, and then they think, oh, they didn't follow the comic book. That's not how it was. And just one time when I read that one issue of the comic book, no, talking about like, for example, Iron Man. Iron Man was a comic book character I never really liked. I'll admit that. I read a few Iron Man comics when I was a kid. From the last few years, I tried before even the first Iron Man movie came out, I considered reading Iron Man because I was like, well, he's kind of a cool guy. He's this rich guy, he had this accident happen to him, and then he has to build this thing in his chest to keep him alive, but at the same time he decides to become a superhero and builds this really cool suit. And it has all this awesome technology, and like earlier, like say like the mid-90s, first few times I read Iron Man, I thought there was like too much boring techno-babble in comic books, and that some of his villains weren't that interesting. Then I read some stories with him and Mandarin, and that was like the only villain I found interesting for Iron Man was the Mandarin. And some of those stories were decent, not the best. And then a few years ago when what was it? The Planet Hulk, World War Hulk, and the Marvel Civil War. When those three series came out, I read those because I'm a fan of the Incredible Hulk. He is awesome. And like in those comics, Iron Man became a dickhead. Like, straight up dickhead. Him and the secret Illuminati organization sent Bruce Banner away to another planet, and and pissed Bruce Banner off and became the Hulk, and the whole Planet Hulk thing, and then he went back to Earth in World War Hulk, just like demolished the majority of the Marvel universe. He said, "Fuck you guys, what you get for doing this to me." And then I was real happy in World War Hulk when the Hulk just beat the shit out of Tony Stark, Iron Man, because at that point I was like, "Fuck Iron Man, fuck Tony Stark. I'm not even interested in this character no more," and I wasn't. And then the Marvel Civil War, which I highly suggest getting on trade paperback because it's out now. It has been for a while. I highly suggest getting it. It's a really good series, and it splits the Marvel universe in half. And like Tony Stark becomes even more of a superior dickhead when he's like, "I'm going to raise my hand and tell the government I'm really Iron Man, and I'm going to enforce their superhero registration act deal, and try to force other superheroes to do the same." And then you have Captain America's like, "No, that ain't right. That's not the American way." And his band, and then the guys there with Captain America like, "No, that's not right." And then the guys there with Iron Man are like, "Oh, we must serve the government," and they have a battle, and it's just a really good story. But it just, to me, it was just like, oh, that's what Marvel's doing with Tony Stark. Iron Man, he's a dickhead and a sellout. I don't care, because to me he was never that interesting of a character. And then the movies came out, which I really enjoyed. Iron Man 1 and Iron Man 2. Iron Man 3 sucked, so fuck that movie. there was like stuff in it that had nothing to do with the movie. So many plot holes in that movie that you could like bury a fucking Mack truck in it. And then, but yeah, and Robert Downey Jr. did an outstanding job portraying Tony Stark, Iron Man. I think Robert Downey Jr. is a great actor. I enjoyed him in Tropic Thunder. I enjoyed him in Iron Man, Iron Man 2, Sherlock Holmes movies. And there's one other movie, I can't remember the name of it, but it's for Jamie Foxx is his co-star. And Jamie Foxx is like this schizophrenic guy that can play the cello really well, and Robert Downey helps him out and helps him with his mental issues, and it was an amazing movie. I really liked that one. Oh, and The Zodiac, that was a good movie. Robert Downey, I think, did great in that one too. But anyway, he's a great actor, so he portrayed Tony Stark, Iron Man, really well. And then some people I know see that and they're like, oh, he's like the coolest ever. I'm like, read the comic books. He's a boring character in the comic books. On movie, he's Robert Downey Jr. In the comic books, he's Tony Stark, boring and bland and a dickhead and a sellout. So, and they don't think that. And then another thing, my personal favorite superhero ever since I was a child has always been Batman. It's just my personal opinion, because he's the only one that has no powers. He's just a guy. Yet Iron Man has no powers, but he has that suit and missiles and no, Batman doesn't need that shit. But anyway, Christopher Nolan with his Batman trilogy, I really enjoyed. Really well directed, really well written. I know some people give Christian Bale they talk some shit about Christian Bale and his portrayal as Batman. Well, I really thoroughly enjoyed Christian Bale's Bruce Wayne Batman. He created two separate characters for each. Just like, if you really look into Batman and Bruce Wayne, two separate people. Bruce Wayne, when he puts on that bat suit and puts on that cowl, turns into Batman. He's like, that's how he is. And I really like the way Christian Bale portrayed Bruce Wayne Batman. I think he did a really good job. He made it definitely seem like that, even though Bruce Wayne is Batman, that when he becomes Batman, he's just a totally different person. And a lot of people say, oh, they make fun of like the rough gravel voice that Christian Bale would speak in when he was in the bat suit. But I like that. To me, it added something else to the character. And then and a lot of people talk about like with The Dark Knight Rises with the portrayal of Bane. When I first saw the previews for the movie, I'm like, it's Bane? Maybe he had, Roy Rage in the movie. And I saw the movie and he didn't. And then I was like, you know what? I like that. Yeah, true in the comic books, Bane will pump himself up with venom and get all huge and just go berserk. But previous Batman movies, more specifically Batman and Robin, which was a horrible film, where George Clooney portrayed Batman, you had Bane as one of the villains, and that's all he did was just pump himself full of venom and just go berserk. If you read the comic books, like the first appearance of Bane, which was the Nightfall series, where he broke Batman's back, you see that Bane is, he's this big, strong brute, but he's also really tactically smart, and he plans out all of his attacks, and that's what Christopher Nolan showed in The Dark Knight Rises. Bane being this really tactical kind of who plans out these attacks, or there's Talia al Ghul in the movie, and she had something to do with it too, but it shows that, Bane is, he's this big brute, and he's strong, physically stronger than Batman, but he's also got a tactical mindset, so he wants to, he plans out his attacks a certain way and is real tactful about it. And that's what Christopher Nolan showed in Dark Knight Rises. And I really like that. You know, I guess my point here is like, there are people that seeing these movies and they're going to see them as movies, knowing they're based off comic book, but have no idea about the comic book. They may know like the general idea, like, if you've never read a comic book, you know who Batman is. You know who Superman is. You know their backstories. You know Superman's from the planet Krypton. It blew up. His parents sent him away from Krypton in his little space pod rocket thing. Crash landed in Kansas on Earth, and he was raised by the Kents and grew up to be Superman. You know, the ultimate Boy Scout. You know and then Batman. You know, he was a child. His parents were mugged and shot in front of him, and that drove him to become Batman, to train himself, but to become what criminals and villains fear, and to fight them. And that's all you really need to know if you've never read the comic books, because it's just like, it's been such a big part of American culture for a long time, and then it's some of these comic books have become worldwide that everyone knows. But then there's some that's everyone's not so familiar with, like Iron Man. Like I said, I was never a big Iron Man fan. I've read a few of the comics, wasn't a fan of them, but I've known people that were really into the Iron Man comics, and that was their thing, and they knew more about Iron Man than me, and they saw something else in the comics, and they enjoyed it, and that's fine. And then, like, for example, Thor. I saw the first Thor movie. I liked it. It wasn't the best superhero movie, but it's Thor. It's fun. And and I'm going to go see the second one eventually, but I'm guessing that it's not going to be like Christopher Nolan Batman trilogy or Robert Downey Iron Man caliber. It's going to be Thor. Come on, he's a comic book character based off of a Norse god, so he's a Viking god. You shouldn't expect much from Thor except for he beats shit up with a hammer and summons lightning. And but I'm gonna see it because I enjoyed the first Thor movie. I enjoyed the character of Loki a lot. I like the way they portray Loki in the films. Because I growing up reading comics, I've read a few Thor comics. Some I like, some I didn't like, just like anything else. But one thing I always liked was like when Loki was in the comics, because he was a cool villain. I thought he was. And I like the way they portray him in the movies. I want to see a second one because Loki's in it. I really like Loki in the first Thor movie and in the Avengers. And so, and that's that. And but yeah, eventually I'll see the second Thor film. I'm not expecting it to be like the greatest superhero movie ever. It's not gonna be on Avengers. It's not gonna be on par with the Avengers. I mean, the first Thor movie wasn't on par with the Avengers, but I'm gonna see it just because I think it would be a fun action film to go see. But yeah, I think a lot of people, they're seeing these movies and they're thinking, okay, I know the comic book now because I've seen the movie. No, you don't. Like they're and they can only do, like, Hollywood can only do so much within a movie, whereas like in the comic book, the writer and the artist can do whatever they want. They don't have, special effects budgets or limitations on what you can do with a costume or whatever. They can do whatever they want. If they can draw it and write it, they can do it. And people are like, that's just my opinion. People are getting, and they're thinking like, okay, if this happened in the movie, did it happen in the comic book? No, not necessarily. Like for example, I'm going back to Christopher Nolan's Batman trilogy. He did those 3 films, and that's all he was going to do for Batman. And I respect that. Christopher Nolan did 3 wonderful films, and the best 2 Batman movies before that were the Tim Burton ones, Batman and Batman Returns, with Michael Keaton. And the Christopher Nolan trilogy and the 2 directed by Tim Burton starring Michael Keaton, those 5 Batman movies are the best. If you haven't seen Batman and Batman Returns, I highly suggest it. Suggest seeing those films. They're really good. And but anyway, people seeing the Iron Man films thinking, okay, that's like 50 issues, 50 to 100 issues of Iron Man comic book. So, see those, I know how Iron Man is. No, you don't. Or they're like the Fantastic Four. Fantastic Four, first of all, I saw both movies, and I thought they were both terrible. And I don't know why I saw them. I thought maybe it would change my mind about Fantastic Four, because prior to that, I tried reading Fantastic Four comic books, and I was just thought they were so dull. Reed Richards, I think, is one of the most dull characters in comics. The only character in Fantastic Four I ever really liked was the Thing. I thought Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, was, his whole attitude, I don't like it. And yeah, the Fantastic Four I always thought was bland. The only cool thing I ever thought that the Fantastic Four had was Doctor Doom as a villain, because he's a really cool villain. But other than that, I could never grasp Fantastic Four. Some people like it, but not me. And the movies I thought were just snooze fest. But I think I really like for people that's maybe never read a comic book, but they're seeing these movies to go out and buy some comic books and read it and get a better understanding and idea of these characters. Because if not, Hollywood's going to keep, pushing out these films, and you got Marvel Studios putting out more movies, and DC and Warner Brothers putting out more movies, and people, just they're knowing it's based off a comic book, but they're not reading the comic book, and they're going to see the movies, and I think like that, it's gonna take away from these great characters that so many people have worked on throughout the years. Let's take Iron Man. I might not be a fan of Iron Man, but I know there are people out there that are. And back in the '60s, Stan Lee, late '60s, early '70s, Stan Lee and Jack Kirby really put a lot into creating that character, and then and many other artists and writers over the years have done their own thing with the Iron Man character, as well as other comic book characters like Superman, Man of Steel. I saw it, wasn't a fan of it. There's so much you can do with Superman, and like the previous Superman movie, Superman Returns, whatever that one, I didn't care too I didn't care too much for either, and I'm just like, oh my god, one of my favorite Superman stories was Superman Birthright. Oh, that's such a good story, and I suggest getting the trade paperback and reading it. Really well done. And then, I know coming up soon you have Superman Batman movie. A lot of people complain about Ben Affleck being Batman. He's not my first choice. I understand why Christian Bale's not doing Batman again. And if I was Christian Bale, I wouldn't either, because Zack Snyder's doing this Superman Batman. Zack Snyder fucked up Man of Steel. I think Zack Snyder fucked up Watchmen. I love the Watchmen comic book. Alan Moore is by far probably the best writer in comic books. And to see what happened with Watchmen on film, oh my god, Zack Snyder, fuck you. I like 300. I really thought that was like Zack Snyder's shining moment, 300. And then he's trying to repeat that. And he's not getting it. But, yeah, and I'd like for, whoever watches this video I want to know your thoughts and comments. Just leave comments and let me know what you think about, like, how some of these heroes are being portrayed on film and how society, when they go see this film that's never in the comic book, is their interpretation correct? Or, how you feel, like, say you're a fan of Iron Man or the Hulk. By the way, the last Hulk movie that came out, the Incredible Hulk with Edward Norton, I really liked that one. Really well done, and I like the fact that they had the Abomination as a villain. That was cool. But anyway, when people see the Avengers film, understand it's a great visual, it's a great film, great action film, something fun to go see, but do they think that's the whole story of the Avengers is in the movie? If they never read the comic book, I want people, I want them to see these films, but at the same time to go back and read the comic books, read some of the stories that spawned from the comic books throughout the years, and you'll get more out of it, I think. I always do. Like, I enjoy the films, but I love the comic books even more, and I enjoy them way more. But anyway, I want to know your comments, especially if you're a comic book fan and you've read some of these comics and you've been a fan of some of these characters, and then you've seen how they're translated on film and how people perceive them that's never read a comic book. I want to know how you feel and your thoughts on it. Alright, until next time, keep it awesome.